In my first life, I died because of a business deal. A deal my father's partner, Trevor, orchestrated to push me out, and a deal my father allowed because a son's life was a fair price for a lucrative contract. My rival wasn't some stranger in a boardroom, it was my own sister, Emma, who saw my affection for our mother's memory as a weakness, an obstacle to the family's wealth. I died alone, betrayed by my own blood, and the man I once called my best friend. My death, a quiet footnote in their success story. This time, things would be different. I sit in the sterile corridor, the antiseptic scent of the hospital a sharp, familiar sting in my nostrils. The large, round clock on the wall ticks with an agonizing slowness, each second a hammer blow against my already frayed nerves. 2 o'clock, the time of my scheduled appendectomy. The chair beside me is empty, but it holds the ghost of my father. His worn leather jacket, the one that always smells faintly of stale cigarettes and fresh disappointment, is slung over the back. It's the same jacket from 23 years ago in my first life, the same empty chair, the same betrayal, replaying itself like a cursed film. My phone vibrates in my hand, the screen lighting up with a message. It's him. Son, emergency client meeting. Can't be helped. Steph will drive you home, you understand, right? My hands tremble, not from fear of the surgery, but from the searing rage of memory. In my first life, I had replied instantly, my fingers flying across the keypad, desperate for his approval even in his absence. It's okay, Dad. Business first. I had swallowed my hurt, my loneliness, and played the part of the understanding son. He never knew that the minor surgery had complications, that I had woken up in agony, crying for a father who was busy toasting a new contract. And this time, I don't type a single word. I stare at the message, the pathetic excuse burning into my retinas. The cursor blinks expectantly in the empty text box, a silent testament to my newfound resolve. I delete the notification. I will not give him the comfort of my forgiveness. Let him wonder. Let the silence be my first act of defiance. A nurse with kind eyes and a clipboard approaches, her soft-soled shoes squeaking on the polished linoleum. Marcus Chen? She asks, her voice a gentle intrusion into my storm of thoughts. I look from the empty chair to the cold phone in my hand, and then to her. Yes, I say, my own voice sounding foreign, steady. I'm ready. I am not the same boy who walked into this hospital 23 years ago. That boy died. I am something else entirely, something colder, harder, and infinitely more prepared. The operating room is a blur of bright lights and muted green scrubs. As the anesthesiologist lowers the mask over my face, the sweet chemical smell fills my lungs, and I'm pulled back into the fog of my past life. It wasn't just this surgery, it was a lifetime of empty chairs and broken promises. I see flashes, vivid and painful. My high school graduation, his seat empty because of a last-minute flight to Tokyo. My 21st birthday, celebrated with his assistant, Stephanie, because he and Trevor were closing a deal in another city. Family dinners where he spent the entire time on the phone, his voice a low, urgent murmur that always felt more important than any conversation at our table. He was a master of grand gestures and absent details, a man who could buy me a car but couldn't remember my favorite color. The greatest betrayal, however, was his quiet complicity in Trevor's ambition. Trevor, his business partner, a man whose smile never reached his eyes, had systematically dismantled my own business aspirations, feeding my father lies about my incompetence, my lack of killer instinct. And my father, eager to see me as a flawed reflection of himself, had believed every word. It was Trevor who had engineered the final, fatal deal that ruined me, and it was my father who had looked away. A memory of my mother surfaces through the anesthetic haze, her voice a warm, soothing balm. Your father loves us, sweetheart. He just shows it differently. Oh, Mom, you were wrong. You were so tragically, beautifully wrong. You saw the good in a man who had none left to give. You died of a sudden illness, they told me. A heart that simply gave out. Now, I wonder. Now I question everything. This rebirth, this impossible second chance, didn't just give me the foreknowledge of my own tragic end. It came with a gift, a secret you left behind, a key to a safety deposit box you kept hidden, even from him. A key that I now know unlocks not just your hidden fortune, but the truth. The proof of what they did to you and what they would later do to me. As I close my eyes and surrender to the darkness, a single, cold thought solidifies into a plan. You gave me the tools, Mom. This time I will build a fortress, not a coffin. I wake to the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor and the faint scent of stale coffee. My abdomen aches with a dull, throbbing pain. The first thing I see is not my father's anxious face, but the back of his assistant's head. Stephanie is engrossed in a glossy magazine, her leg bouncing impatiently. She's here on the clock, a paid-for stand-in for paternal affection. Nothing has changed. The call comes at 8 p.m., long after the surgeon has gone home, long after the daytime nurses have been replaced by the tired night shift. "How'd it go, champ?" Dad's voice is slick with forced bonhomie. "Sorry I couldn't be there. The Nakamura deal needed my personal touch. You know how it is." "I know exactly how it is," I say, the words flat and devoid of the warmth he expects. A flicker of silence on his end before he recovers. "That's my boy. Rest up. I'll see you at dinner tomorrow." He hangs up before I can respond. A short while later, my sister Emma arrives, balancing 2 containers of takeout and a condescending smile. "Heard you survived," she says, setting the food on the rolling table. "Dad feels terrible, you know. That Nakamura deal is huge for us." "For us," I repeat softly, watching her. She's already practicing the corporate speak, already aligning herself with the business over family. She rolls her eyes, a familiar gesture of dismissal. "Don't be so dramatic, Marcus. You know how he is. He's building an empire for our future. Our future." Her words are a cold echo of my first life. As the morphine fog from the surgery begins to clear, the memory of the key returns with crystalline clarity. It's not a dream. It's real. Hidden in the false bottom of Mom's old jewelry case, the one Emma occasionally borrows from. A small, ornate brass key. A key that unlocks a world of secrets at a downtown bank. It leads to your money, Mom, but more than that, it leads to the documents. The proof that Trevor, with my father's willful ignorance, had been embezzling from your inheritance for years before you died. Lying in this hospital bed, surrounded by the ghosts of past and future betrayals, my plan takes its final, sharp-edged form. I will let them think I am the same weak, forgiving Marcus. I will let them walk the same paths, make the same mistakes. And I will use the key you left me, Mom, to unlock not just my own fortune, but their ruin. The weekly family dinner is at the Gilded Steer, a ridiculously expensive steakhouse my father uses as an extension of his office. The air smells of charred meat, old money, and my own simmering resentment. I sit across from him, picking at a scab on my hand near the IV bruise, my surgical stitches pulling with every slight movement. Dad hasn't looked at me once since we sat down. His attention is surgically attached to his phone, which is pressed to his ear. "Trevor, listen to me," he says, his voice a low growl of command. "The margins on the logistics are too thin. We need to renegotiate with the Port Authority." He gestures impatiently at the waiter for another glass of wine, the same expensive Cabernet Mom used to love. He orders it out of habit, a hollow ritual that he performs without a flicker of remembrance for the woman whose chair sits perpetually empty at this table. My sister Emma catches my eye and gives a slight shake of her head, a silent plea for me to be patient, to understand. "He's under a lot of pressure," she whispers while her own thumbs fly across her phone screen, texting a boyfriend I know she's keeping a secret. "At least he's building something for our future." There's that word again. Future. A future built on the foundations of my mother's stolen legacy. I tune back into my father's conversation, just in time to catch the phrase that sends a chill down my spine. "Don't worry about the capital," he tells Trevor. "I'll leverage Helen's old accounts, the ones from her inheritance. It's just sitting there, dead money. It's time we put it to work." He finally hangs up, a triumphant gleam in his eyes. He looks at me, really looks at me for the first time all evening. "Good news, Marcus. Trevor's coming on as a full partner. We're expanding. Your mother would have been proud." He lifts his glass in a toast. I don't move. He thinks he's putting my mother's money to work. I know he's about to hand the keys to her kingdom, to the very man who robbed her blind. Trevor visits 2 days later, a walking personification of insincerity. He arrives with a gift basket large enough to feed a small army and a smile that's all teeth. The scent of his cologne, an aggressive, eye-wateringly expensive brand that Dad only started wearing after Mom died, fills the living room. It's the smell of erasure. "Marcus, my boy, heard you were under the weather?" He booms, placing a heavy hand on my shoulder. I flinch, the pressure jarring my stitches. "Just wanted to make sure you were recovering well. Your dad worries, you know." He settles onto the sofa, his eyes scanning the room with a practiced air of ownership. His concern is a thin veneer over a core of pure calculation. "He works so hard, that man," Trevor says, shaking his head with faux admiration. "He pushes himself because he worries you're not as business-minded as Emma. He wants to make sure you're taken care of." It's a classic Trevor move, a backhanded compliment wrapped in a sheath of feigned concern, designed to make me feel inadequate. Later, I find him lingering by the mantelpiece, examining the family photos. His gaze lingers too long on the ones of my mother. There's a cold, calculating look in his eyes as he studies her face, her jewelry. It's not reminiscence, it's appraisal. I retreat to the hallway, pretending to take a call. From the shadows, I watch him. Thinking he's alone, he pulls out his phone. He angles it towards the antique jewelry box on the side table, Mom's jewelry box. The one with the false bottom, the one with the key. A soft click echoes in the quiet room as he photographs it from several angles. My blood runs cold. He's not just a thief, he's a scavenger, picking over the bones of my mother's life, and he doesn't even know the real treasure is hidden right under his nose. "You need to be more supportive." Emma sits across from me in my room, her perfectly manicured nails tapping an impatient rhythm on her knee. She's framed this as a career advice session, a chance for her to impart her worldly wisdom, but it's just another loyalty test. Dad and Trevor are on the verge of something huge. This is not the time to be moody or difficult. Her eyes, so like our mother's in shape but entirely different in their cold clarity, search my face for weakness. "I know you're still sensitive about Mom," she says, her voice softening into a practiced, manipulative caress. "But you can't let sentiment hold the family back. Mom would want us to be successful. She would want us to support Dad's dreams." I stay silent, letting her talk. And she does. She reveals everything without realizing it. She talks about my ungrateful behavior at dinner, a detail she must have reported back to Dad. She mentions a conversation with Trevor where he expressed his concerns about my stability. She is their spy, their willing informant, trading snippets of my life for pats on the head and, I suspect, more tangible rewards. My eyes drift to the new diamond tennis bracelet sparkling on her wrist. It looks suspiciously familiar, the design almost identical to a piece that went missing from Mom's collection shortly after she died. Dad had claimed it was lost, probably misplaced during the estate inventory. Looking at it now on Emma's arm, I realize it wasn't lost, it was redistributed. A reward for her loyalty. "I'm just worried about you, Marcus," she finishes, her performance complete. "Don't do anything to jeopardize this, for any of us." The threat is veiled, but it's there. My sister's love is conditional, its currency is compliance. She has chosen her side. She chose it a long time ago. Jason slouches on my sofa, controller in hand, the glow of the video game illuminating the greed that has taken root in his eyes. Our weekly gaming session, once a refuge, now feels like an interrogation. He's been my best friend since we were roommates in college, the one person I thought I could trust. I was wrong. "So, this expansion your dad's planning," he says, his eyes fixed on the screen. "That's got to be a massive investment. Is he funding it all himself?" The questions are casual, slipped between explosions and gunfire in the game, but they feel predatory. In my first life, I had complained to Jason endlessly about my family, about Trevor, about my frustrations. I had given him a complete blueprint of my family's financial and emotional vulnerabilities. This time, I've been vague, distant, but the damage from my past self's loose lips is already done. "I'm not really involved in the details," I say, my voice carefully neutral. He grunts, then pauses the game. "It's just, you know that project I'm working on? The startup?" I'm looking for angel investors, people who aren't afraid to make bold moves. Your dad's partner, Trevor, seems like that kind of guy. I was thinking of reaching out to him. You think you could put in a good word? There it is. The connection. It's a lie, of course. I can see it in the way he won't meet my eyes. He's not thinking of reaching out. He already has. A few days ago, I'd done a little digging. A simple background check on Jason's new girlfriend. She isn't a yoga instructor, as he'd claimed. She's a junior analyst at Northgate Bank, the very branch where my mother kept her primary accounts. The accounts my father is now planning to drain. My gaze falls to his wrist. He's wearing a new watch, a sleek, expensive model far beyond his means. His recent social media posts show off a newly renovated apartment. It all clicks into place with a sickening finality. Jason hasn't just been listening to my problems, he's been monetizing them. He's been feeding information to Trevor, selling my family's secrets for a new watch and a better apartment. He betrayed me for a down payment. My best friend, my brother, gone. Dad calls a family meeting, which is just me and Emma summoned to the formal dining room. Trevor is there, standing beside Dad like a loyal vizier. He's holding a glossy, leather-bound presentation. The air is thick with anticipation and the smell of my father's ambition. As you know, Dad begins, his voice resonating with importance, we are on the cusp of a major expansion. This will solidify our place in the market for the next 50 years. Trevor takes over, his voice smooth as oil. He clicks through a presentation filled with charts, projections, and architectural renderings of a gleaming new headquarters. And the seed capital for this exciting new chapter, Trevor says, landing on a slide titled Legacy Funding, will come from the Helen Chen estate. We'll be utilizing your mother's legacy accounts to build our future. He says her name without a hint of irony, as if she would have gladly handed over her fortune to the man who was secretly bleeding her dry. He's planning to use the money he stole from her to steal the rest of it. I feel Emma's excited gaze on me, waiting for my reaction. In my first life, I had argued. I had yelled about preserving Mom's memory, about the disrespect. It had only made me look emotional and irrational, playing right into Trevor's hands. This time, I leaned forward, my expression one of naive fascination. Wow, I say, my voice full of manufactured awe. That's incredible. But are you sure those accounts are liquid enough? Mom was always so complicated with her finances. I ask a few more innocent questions, simple queries about account numbers and bank branches that make Trevor's smile tighten almost imperceptibly at the edges. He's forced to admit he doesn't have all the details yet. Emma, beaming, pulls out her phone. Let me record this for the family archives, the day the Chen Empire doubled. She films the whole thing, unknowingly capturing Trevor's nervous shifting, the sweat on his upper lip. I want to help, I announce, standing up. I can help with the paperwork, go through Mom's old files, organize her financial documents. It's the least I can do to contribute. Dad and Trevor exchange a look of profound relief. The problematic, sentimental son is finally on board. They see a grateful child, eager to please. I see a door swinging wide open, giving me access to the very crime scene they're about to create. The next few weeks are a masterclass in self-degradation. I play my part with an actor's dedication, swallowing the metallic taste of my own pride until it becomes a constant flavor in my mouth. I am the picture of the grateful, malleable son. Thank you, Dad, I say over dinner, my voice brimming with sincerity. Thank you for including me in this. It means the world that you trust me with this responsibility. He beams, patting my back with a heavy, proprietary hand. He sees my help organizing Mom's documents as a sign of my surrender, a final acceptance of his authority. I spend hours in his home office, surrounded by boxes of my mother's meticulously kept files. The scent of her old perfume still clings to the paper, a faint, floral ghost that fuels my resolve. Dad and Trevor occasionally check in on me, their faces smug, watching the prodigal son finally towing the family line. They see me sorting papers. I am actually mapping their battlefield, learning the terrain of their deceit. The most difficult performance is with Jason. I schedule lunch with him at a cheap diner, the kind of place we used to go to in college. I pretend to be lost, vulnerable. I feel like I'm finally connecting with my dad. I tell him, stirring my watery coffee. I just, I don't want to mess it up. You're so good with people, man. Any advice? He launches into a self-satisfied lecture on managing expectations and showing initiative, all the while subtly probing for information about the expansion, about the money, about Trevor. I feed him harmless, vague details, watching him mentally file them away to sell later. He thinks he's playing me. He has no idea he's a pawn in a much larger game and his role is about to end. The act is suffocating but necessary. For the trap to work, the bait has to be convincing, and right now, the bait is me. The moment I have the house to myself, I retrieve the key. It's exactly where I remember it, taped to the false bottom of Mom's jewelry box. It feels heavy in my palm, a small brass instrument of justice. The downtown bank is cold and impersonal, a cathedral of commerce. The safety deposit room is silent, the air still and heavy. The attendant uses his own key, then mine, and a heavy metal door clicks open. Box 34B. I slide the long metal container out. It's heavier than I expected. My heart hammers against my ribs as I lift the lid. It's not just money or jewels. It's a meticulously organized archive of betrayal. My mother, my gentle, unsuspecting mother, had been a secret warrior. She had known. She had suspected Trevor long before she died. Inside are stacks of documents held together with binder clips. Photocopies of altered contracts with her forged signature. Bank statements showing mysterious cash withdrawals that corresponded with Trevor's business trips. Printouts of emails where Trevor discusses creative accounting with a third party. She had been building a case. Every document is dated, annotated in her neat, elegant script. And at the very bottom, a single sealed envelope with my name on it. I don't open it. Not yet. The final, most damning piece of evidence is a small audio recorder, the kind journalists use. The label, in Mom's handwriting, reads, T&D, March 12th. 3 weeks before she died. I don't listen to it here. I take the box to a copy center far from my neighborhood. I spend 4 hours duplicating every single page, every photograph. I scan the documents onto a thumb drive. I take the originals along with the recorder and the sealed letter and rent a new safety deposit box at a different bank under a name they will never trace. I leave the copies in the original box, 34B, a time bomb waiting for the right moment to detonate. And I know exactly when that will be. We're back at the Gilded Steer. The scene of my father's triumphant announcement is about to become the stage for his public humiliation. I arrive late, clutching a large manila envelope to my chest, my face a carefully constructed mask of anxiety. Sorry I'm late, I stammer, sliding into my seat. I was finishing up with Mom's papers. I found some things. I'm not sure what they are. I think they're important. The mood of the table shifts instantly. Dad and Trevor, who had been laughing over a joke, freeze. Their smiles evaporate. Their eyes lock onto the envelope. What are you talking about, Marcus? Dad asks, his voice dangerously low. I don't know, I say, feigning confusion. I pull out a stack of the copied documents and spread them on the white tablecloth, right next to the breadbasket. It's just, this looks like Mom's signature, but it's all shaky, and these withdrawal slips, they're for huge amounts, from her personal accounts. Trevor's face is ashen. He looks like he's seen a ghost. This is nonsense, he sputters, reaching for the papers. It's old, irrelevant. But Emma is faster, always the pragmatist, always needing to be in control. She snatches a handful of the documents. What is this? She demands, her eyes scanning the pages. She reads aloud, her voice laced with confusion that slowly morphs into shock. Account transfer, $50,000 authorized by Helen Chen. But this signature is a mess, and this one, consulting fee to a company I've never heard of? She looks from the papers to Trevor, her face a canvas of dawning horror. She's not horrified by the crime, but by the sloppiness, the sheer audacity of being caught. Trevor stands up so abruptly, his chair screeches against the floor. I'm not going to sit here and listen to this slander, he hisses. He throws his napkin on the table and storms out of the restaurant, leaving my father stammering, his face a mottled red. Diners at the surrounding tables are staring, their own conversations silenced. They watch as my father tries to gather the papers as my sister stares at the forged signatures of our dead mother. And as I sit there, the picture of a concerned, bewildered son who has just accidentally blown his family apart. The confrontation happens in his study, the room where he reigns supreme. The smell of leather and his expensive stress-masking cologne is suffocating. He doesn't yell. His voice is a low, menacing rumble that's far more terrifying. "Where are the originals, Marcus?" he demands, his hands flat on the polished mahogany desk. "This little stunt at the restaurant was cute. Now it's over. Give me whatever else you think you have." I shake my head, feigning terror. That was everything. Don't lie to me." His control snaps for a second, his voice cracking like a whip. He takes a deep breath, recalibrating. "Trevor is a good man, a loyal partner. You are trying to destroy this family with your grief-induced paranoia." The study door opens and Emma walks in, her arms crossed, a soldier reporting for duty. "Dad's right, Marcus. You're being destructive. You need to stop this nonsense about Trevor." As if on cue, the doorbell rings. A moment later, Jason is ushered into the study. My best friend. His face a mask of solemn concern. It's a planned intervention, a united front designed to break me. The room feels smaller, the air thinner. The three people who should be my staunchest allies are standing together, a tribunal of betrayal, ready to pass sentence on me to protect a thief. "Son," my father says, his voice now slick with patronizing pity. "We're all worried about you. We think you need help. But first, you will tell me where the rest of those papers are. If you don't, consider yourself cut off. No money, no support, nothing. You'll be on your own. Do you understand?" The ultimatum hangs in the air, heavy and final. My family, holding a gun to my head, and all to protect the man who robbed my mother. This is the performance of a lifetime. I let my shoulders slump. I let the tears well in my eyes, the ones I've been holding back for 2 lifetimes. I let out a choked sob, a sound of pure, unadulterated defeat. "I'm sorry," I whisper, the words catching in my throat. I didn't understand. I miss her so much. I thought I was protecting her." Emma, ever the pragmatist, seizes the opportunity. "We know, Marcus. That's why we think you should talk to someone. Dr. Albright is an excellent grief counselor. Dad and I can arrange it." I nod, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand like a child. "Okay, yes, I'll go." My father's shoulders relax. The tension in the room dissipates, replaced by the cloying air of victory. "And the documents, Marcus?" He presses, his voice softer now. I reach into my bag and pull out a folder. Inside is a collection of carefully selected, meaningless papers. Old utility bills, expired insurance policies, harmless correspondence. I've mixed in a few of the less incriminating copies, the ones that could be explained away as clerical errors. "This is it," I say, my voice trembling. "This is everything I found." Trevor, who had been summoned and was lurking in the hall, comes in to examine the folder. He and Dad exchange a look of triumphant relief. They won. The crisis is averted. Later that evening, I hear the pop of a champagne cork from the living room. They are celebrating my submission, my broken spirit. I retreat to my room, the sound of their laughter a dull poison in my ears. I close the door, the facade of the defeated sun melting away from my face. I open my laptop. The screen illuminates my face, my expression now cold and hard as stone. I open a new email, the recipient's name already typed in, Sarah Kim, investigative journalist. I attach the first file, the scanned copies of the forged bank transfers. Subject, embezzlement at Chen Enterprises, I type. I have a story for you. For the next week, I am a ghost in my own home, a model of compliance. I attend my first session with Emma's recommended therapist, feeding her a story of grief and confusion. I am quiet at the dinner table, deferential to my father. In public, I am his shadow, the repentant son. In private, I am an arsenal. I secretly meet with Sarah Kim in nondescript coffee shops on the other side of town. She's sharp, relentless, with eyes that see through bullshit. I give her everything. The copies of the forged contracts, the bank statements, the photographs of Trevor hovering over Mom's jewelry box. The most powerful weapon is the audio file from Mom's little recorder. I had finally listened to it, locked in my car, the sound a gut-wrenching symphony of betrayal. It was a recording of Dad and Trevor in the study. Trevor was panicking about a near miss with an audit. "She's getting suspicious, David." Trevor's voice tight with fear. "She asked the bank for a full review of her accounts." And then my father's reply, calm and dismissive. "Handle it, Trev. Helen's emotional. She'll forget about it in a week." He knew. He didn't know the full extent, maybe, but he knew something was wrong, and he chose to look away. He chose his partner's secrets over his wife's peace of mind. I give the recording to Sarah. I also give her the recording of the intervention, my father's ultimatum, his threat to cut me off. It's a story of corporate greed, family betrayal, and a dead woman's legacy being plundered by the people she should have been able to trust most. The expose runs on a Tuesday, a full front-page spread in the city's major newspaper, complete with a dramatic headline, "Local Tycoon's Empire Built on Dead Wife's Stolen Fortune." The article is a nuclear bomb. It includes excerpts from the documents, quotes from an anonymous family source, and a photo of my parents in happier times, juxtaposed with a picture of Trevor. The story goes viral online, shared with furious, self-righteous comments. #Chen Enterprises and #Justice for Helen Chen are trending by noon. And through it all, I stand by my father's side, the picture of a shocked and supportive son, while privately feeding more details to a ravenous press. The fallout is swift and brutal. It's a house of cards collapsing in a hurricane. Dad's phone rings incessantly with calls from furious clients, investors pulling out, partners severing ties. The Nakamura deal, the one he missed my surgery for, evaporates overnight. The Japanese partners want nothing to do with a company mired in such dishonorable scandal. Trevor disappears. One day he's at the office shredding documents. The next he's gone. He'd emptied the remaining business accounts, a final act of parasitic greed, and vanished. An arrest warrant is issued, but he's already a ghost. Emma's world shatters. Her high-flying marketing firm, which did business with Chen Enterprises, puts her on immediate leave. Her face, her name, is now associated with the scandal. Her colleagues, who once envied her, now whisper behind her back. The family photos published in the article make her complicity seem obvious. Jason is next. His girlfriend at the bank is fired, implicated in the internal investigation launched after the story broke. The bank freezes his accounts pending an inquiry into his unusual financial gains. He calls me over and over, his number a flashing beacon of desperation on my screen. I block him without a second thought. I find my father one evening, not in his study, but sitting in the middle of Mom's overgrown garden, the one he never had time to tend. He's holding a framed photo of her, the one from their wedding. His shoulders are shaking with deep, ragged sobs. The empire he sacrificed his family for is a pile of ash at his feet. He looks up at me, his eyes red and swollen, a broken king in a ruined kingdom. For a fleeting moment, I almost feel a sliver of pity. But then I remember the empty chair in the hospital, the sound of his laughter as he celebrated my submission, the coldness in his voice as he dismissed my mother's concerns. The pity dies before it can take root. He is not a victim. He is the architect of his own destruction. Even in ruin, my father's first instinct is self-preservation, not remorse. His final act of betrayal is perhaps his most desperate and cruel. The business is gone, the money drained by Trevor, and the debts are monumental. His solution? Sell the family home. The home my mother designed, the home she filled with love and laughter, the only tangible piece of her left. He lays out the plan with a chillingly practical tone. He'll sell the house to a developer for a quick, under-the-table cash deal. He and Emma will move into a luxury downtown condo to maintain appearances. And me? He's found a small studio apartment for me across town. Just until we get back on our feet, he says, not meeting my eye. But the ultimate wrong is not just losing my home. It's the revelation that follows. Trevor called, he admits, his voice a low mumble. He's hiding out in the Caymans. He thinks, we can pin the blame on your mother. Say her records were a mess, that she was a poor bookkeeper. If we can create enough confusion, the fraud charges might not stick. He is going to desecrate her memory to save a thief. to save himself. Emma, ever the survivor, nods in agreement. Her eyes are already calculating her share of the house sale. It makes sense, Dad. We have to be realistic. The next day, my father's lawyer arrives, a man with a vulture's smile and a briefcase full of documents. Just a few formalities, Marcus, Dad says, pushing the papers in front of me. To consolidate the remaining family assets under my name, it will make it easier to deal with the creditors. He's not just selling the house. He's trying to legally strip me of anything that might be left, ensuring he controls every last penny. He's asking me to sign away my birthright, my home, and my mother's honor, all in one go. I look at the papers. I look at my father's anxious face, my sister's greedy eyes. I look at the lawyer, waiting impatiently, his pen uncapped. In my first life, this is where I would have fought, screamed, and lost. This time, I offer only the quiet void of surrender. With a trembling hand that is pure performance, I take the pen. I don't read the documents, I just sign, my signature a shaky scrawl on each designated line. I sign away the house. I sign away the assets. I sign away my future, or so they believe. I just want the family to be happy, I whisper, my voice thick with feigned emotion. I push the papers back across the table. I'll stay out of the business affairs from now on. You're right. I don't understand them. A wave of relief washes over my father's face. He pats my shoulder, a gesture so condescending it makes my skin crawl. This is for the best, son. You'll understand someday. The next few days are a blur of cardboard boxes and quiet goodbyes. I pack my belongings, the few things I truly care about. My mother's books, my old photographs. Emma watches me with a smug, victorious look, occasionally offering a piece of useless advice about packing fragile items. She sees a defeated brother being exiled, clearing the way for her to claim her prize. I let them see what they want to see. I let them believe they have won their final, total victory. The taste of copper fills my mouth as I bite my tongue. The silence my shield, the papers I signed my hidden sword. They think I've surrendered my kingdom. They have no idea I've just claimed my empire. The papers I signed were not what my father thought they were. My own lawyer, a quiet, ruthless woman I'd hired weeks ago, had drawn them up. The documents I surrendered to were, in fact, the final legal instruments to execute the primary clause of my mother's secret will, establishing me not just as an heir, but as the sole executor and beneficiary of the Helen Chen Trust. My mother, it turns out, was not just a secret warrior. She was a financial genius. For years, as she grew more suspicious of Trevor and more disillusioned with my father, she had been systematically moving her assets. Her inheritance wasn't just in those bank accounts Trevor was plundering. That was just the tip of the iceberg, bait she left in the water. Her true fortune, a vast portfolio of stocks, international real estate, and offshore accounts, had been transferred into a series of untouchable trusts. The safety deposit box didn't just contain evidence. It contained the deeds, the stock certificates, the account information, and her true last will and testament. A will that superseded the one my father had on file. And the masterstroke, the final brilliant move from beyond the grave? Years ago, using a shell corporation, she had bought the mortgage on our family home. Then, she bought the deed to the building that housed Chen Enterprises. She owned the ground beneath my father's feet. She owned the roof over his head, and now, so did I. The papers I signed triggered the legal transfer. I didn't surrender my assets to him, I claimed ownership of his. Everything he thought he was stealing, everything he thought he was selling, everything he ever built using her money already belonged to her. And now, it belongs to me. Trevor's embezzlement was a sideshow. He was a petty thief trying to pickpocket a queen, completely unaware of the kingdom she commanded. The final family dinner is at my request. I booked the private room at the Gilded Steer, the scene of our last dramatic meal. Dad and Emma arrive, tense and wary, but also triumphant. The house sale is due to close tomorrow. They think this is my pathetic farewell dinner. They are halfway through their appetizers when my lawyer, Miss Albright, walks in. She places a single, thick, leather-bound folder on the table. "What is this?" my father demands, his eyes narrowing. This, Miss Albright says, her voice calm and clear, is the finalized estate of the late Helen Chen. And this, she slides a single sheet of paper in front of him, is an eviction notice. My father's face cycles through a series of emotions: confusion, irritation, and then, as his eyes scan the legal jargon, dawning, absolute horror. Emma snatches the paper from him, her face paling as she reads. The Helen Chen Trust legal owner of 14 Willow Creek Lane, she whispers, her voice trembling. No, this is impossible. It's quite possible, Miss Albright continues, her tone clinical. Helen Chen was the primary lien holder on this property, as well as the commercial property at 1200 Industrial Way. Upon the execution of her final will, triggered by Mr. Chen's signature last Tuesday, full ownership and all assets of the trust were transferred to her sole heir, Marcus Chen. She lets the words hang in the air. My father stares at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. The blood drains from his face, leaving behind a waxy gray pallor. He understands. He understands that for all his scheming, for all his betrayals, he has been nothing but a tenant in his own life. Emma looks around the room at the expensive wallpaper, the crystal glasses, the life she thought was hers. She looks at the magnificent crystal chandelier hanging above the table, our mother's favorite piece. A piece Emma had already promised to a high-end auction house. A piece that now, legally and irrevocably, belongs to me. The power in the room has not just shifted. It has been remade. And I am its new center. He arrives at my new penthouse, the one with the panoramic view of the city he no longer rules, looking like a ghost. He is stooped, aged a decade in a week. His hands, which once signed million-dollar deals with arrogant flicks of a pen, are trembling. He doesn't bring a lawyer, he brings tears. Marcus, he begins, his voice a hoarse whisper. Son, I was wrong. He stands in my foyer, refusing to come further, as if he knows he doesn't belong here. He gives a full confession, a desperate, rambling monologue of regret. He talks about choosing business over love, about the corrosive influence of Trevor, about neglecting his family, about failing my mother. He paints himself as a tragic figure, a man led astray by ambition. I promise I'll change, he says, tears streaming down his face, carving paths through his stubble. I'll be the father you always deserved. I'll honor your mother's memory every single day. Just don't do this. Don't take everything. He makes his final pathetic offer. Let me work for you, for the foundation, for free. I'll earn back your trust no matter how long it takes. Decades, a lifetime. I listen silently, swirling the coffee in my cup. The city lights twinkle below, a sea of indifferent stars. I watch his performance, the calculated breakdown, the appeal to a father-son bond he himself had severed long ago. He's not sorry for what he did. He's sorry he got caught. He's sorry he lost. When he finally falls silent, his shoulders shaking with sobs, I take a slow sip of my coffee. I say nothing. The silence is my answer. It is cold, absolute, and unforgiving. Emma's approach is different. She ambushes me at my new office, the headquarters of the Helen Chen Foundation. She sweeps past my secretary and bursts into my office, her face a carefully constructed mask of anguish, mascara already streaming down her cheeks. Marcus, thank God, she cries, collapsing into the chair opposite my desk. You have to believe me. I didn't know. I never understood the whole situation. She claims she was manipulated, a victim of Dad's ambition and Trevor's lies. She paints herself as a naive young woman, trying to keep the family together, blinded by her love for our father. It's a masterful performance. She pulls out her props, childhood photos of the two of us, a small, sentimental trinket I'd given her for her 16th birthday. She's appealing to a shared history she helped to poison. I'll do anything, Marcus, she pleads, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. I'll testify. Against Dad, against Trevor if they ever find him. I'll tell them everything I know, just don't leave me with nothing. I'm your sister. My secretary enters and quietly places a box of tissues on the desk beside Emma. I give my secretary a brief, appreciative nod. Emma reaches for a tissue, her eyes fixed on me, waiting for a sign of weakness, a crack in my resolve. She finds none. I remain perfectly still behind the vast expanse of my new mahogany desk, the desk my mother's money bought. I am a statue of indifference. Her tears mean nothing to me. They are just salt and water. They find Trevor in a cheap motel in Mexico, his stolen money mostly gone. Extradited back, he tries intimidation first. His lawyer sends me a letter, thick with threats of legal action, of countersuits, of public embarrassment. He threatens to release fabricated stories about my mother, to paint her as unstable, to drag her name through the mud. It's the last gasp of a cornered rat. My legal team dismisses his threats in a single scathing response. Defeated, he changes tactics. He sends a handwritten plea from his jail cell. The letter is a pathetic litany of excuses. He talks about his family, his children's financial needs, his own fears. He reveals additional smaller crimes he committed along the way, hoping to bargain for leniency, hoping to trade scraps of information for a lighter sentence. When that fails, he resorts to pure spectacle. During a prisoner transfer at the courthouse, he sees me arriving with my lawyer. He breaks away from the guards, a desperate, wild look in his eyes. He falls to his knees on the marble floor of the lobby, shouting my name. Marcus, please! I'll give it all back. I'll do anything. Don't let me rot in here. He causes a massive scene. Reporters flash cameras. Security guards rush to restrain him. It's all captured on video. His final, humiliating degradation broadcast on the evening news. I watch for a moment, my face impassive, before turning and walking away, leaving him screaming my name in a lobby full of strangers. Jason is the last. He shows up at my penthouse late one night, drunk and disheveled. He somehow got past the lobby security, probably by spinning a sob story about a dying friendship. He stumbles into my living room, reeking of whiskey and regret. Marcus, man, he slurs, his eyes red-rimmed. We need to talk. He spends the next hour reminiscing. He talks about our college dorm, about late-night study sessions, about the time I helped him through a bad breakup. He's trying to rebuild a bridge he himself burned down, using the rotten planks of our shared past. He tries to reframe his betrayal as a misguided attempt to help me. I was just trying to look out for you, man, he insists, his words clumsy and unconvincing. I thought if Trevor saw you as part of the team, he'd respect you more. I was trying to get you in his good graces. When he sees the argument isn't working, he breaks down completely. I'll give it back, he sobs, collapsing onto my expensive rug. The watch, the money for the apartment. I'll give it all back. I'll even testify. Just don't hate me. You're my best friend. I stand by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the rain streak down the glass, a quiet, steady rhythm that punctuates his desperate sobs. I let him cry until he has no tears left. Through it all, I remain silent. His betrayal wasn't business, it was personal. It was the deepest cut of all. And for that, there is no forgiveness. There is only the cold, quiet rain and the vast, empty space where our friendship used to be. I stand on the deck of my private beach house in Malibu, a place my mother had bought years ago and kept secret. The sound of the waves crashing against the rocks below is a powerful, cleansing roar. I breathe in the salt-laced air, and for the first time in 2 lifetimes, it feels like I can finally exhale all the bitterness, all the rage. Mom's simple gold ring, the one from her jewelry box, is now on my finger. It catches the last golden rays of the setting sun, and I feel a warmth spread through me that has nothing to do with the fading light. My phone is off. There are no meetings to attend, no family obligations to fulfill. There is only the cry of the gulls, the rhythm of the tide, and the profound, beautiful peace of being utterly, finally, alone and free. The ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Helen Chen Foundation for Abandoned Children is a quiet affair, attended not by city dignitaries, but by social workers, volunteers, and the children themselves. I named it for her after discovering from her secret will that she had been anonymously donating a fortune to orphanages for years. This isn't my legacy. It's the continuation of hers. As I read a story to a group of wide-eyed children in the Foundation's new library, surrounded by the smell of new books and the sound of their occasional laughter, I feel a sense of purpose that no business deal could ever provide. On the wall, a large, smiling portrait of my mother watches over us. Her smile, once a source of painful memory, now feels like a benediction. She is finally at peace, and so am I. Sarah, Kim, and I share a dessert at a small, unassuming Italian restaurant. Our conversation flows easily, a comfortable exchange of ideas and laughter, untainted by hidden agendas or transactional needs. We talk about her latest story, about a book I'm reading, about our shared love for bad sci-fi movies. The warm, dim lighting of the restaurant reflects in her eyes, and I see a genuine warmth, an honest curiosity that I've never encountered before. She helped me expose the truth, not for the fame, but because it was the right thing to do. For the first time, in this life or the last, I feel a flicker of trust for someone new. The chocolate dessert we share is rich and sweet, and for once there is no bitter aftertaste. Back in my penthouse study, I finally opened the last letter from my mother's safety deposit box, the one with my name on it. Her familiar, elegant script fills the page. She knew. She didn't have all the details, but she knew about the betrayals in their infancy, the simmering greed, my father's weakness. She wrote this letter as a final gift, a release. "Live for yourself, my darling boy," she wrote. "Don't let their ghosts haunt you. I've given you the tools not for revenge, but for freedom. Your life is your own now. Go build a beautiful one." The city spreads out below my window, a glittering constellation of infinite possibilities. Tomorrow, I board a plane to Thailand. A backpack is all I'm taking. My soul, once shackled to the past, is finally light enough to fly.